The project began with some research into queer history and the history of conversion therapy specifically. I've sort of witnessed this pattern of it happening over the last century. And I was like, what is this thing? How did it begin? And so that's what started my research that led me to learning about this procedure that was used that claimed to cure homosexuality, and that I just found harrowing and chilling and fascinating, and it just sort of got lodged in my psyche. And it sat on my phone in the Notes app for a couple of years, and then of being like, there's something here, but I don't know what it is. And then eventually it revealed itself. And so I wrote the script during lockdown in 2021, and now here we are. There's this quote, light and shadow reveal form. And I think that's for me something that is very important as a guiding principle in my creative life and in making a film, is that I feel like if you only have the darkness, you actually can't see the thing. And if you only have the light, it actually just skims the surface of the truth. There's this part in the film where the protagonist says, if you want to hear my story, you need to hear all of it. You can't just hear the parts that sound harmless and pretty. And I think sometimes, particularly with queer stories, there can be a desire to just lean into either the darkness or just lean into the light. And I think it's important to really find the conversation between those two things. So I tried to find how to put those in conversation with each other, I suppose. I came from an acting background myself before moving behind the camera, and so it was the part of the filmmaking process that I was the most literate in, I suppose. And I just got so lucky that our actors were the most generous, thoughtful, creatively engaged people. Like, they really felt like collaborators through and through. And I mean, I met Rob Armeo, who plays Philip in the film, back when he was at Juilliard. He was there with my husband, and I met him then and had been a fan of his since he was a student. And so the whole project really started with bringing him the script and saying, I think if you would be willing to play this, it would be a dream come true. And yeah, so working with the actors was amazing and organic, and I just think they're all people who 40 years from now, we're gonna be looking at their body of work in amazement, and I feel really grateful to be a part of each of their stories, because I rate them very highly. The biggest challenge with making the film is the lack of support and infrastructure for filmmakers in general, particularly American filmmakers, I think, where there's not a lot of government support for our art form. And so it was really an uphill battle. Like, we had to push the boulder up the hill in terms of finding the resources to make the thing. And I wish that even when we had institutional support, even when we had our producers did Call Me By Your Name, we have this cool up and coming cast of actors. There were a lot of elements that were there, and it still proved really difficult to access the resources for what's a pretty small film, And I think that, I hope that what I think is really cool about Edinburgh and what you guys are doing now is creating a discovery platform that hopefully will allow for people to have access to more resources and to really show how meaningful it can be when you give people those resources and the work that can come out of that. So that was the hardest part, was actually the practicalities of making the damn thing, And then I think the best surprise was how completely worth the struggle it is. It was so much harder than I ever expected, and so much more fulfilling than I ever could have imagined as well. And so, again, it's what we were talking about before, of like light and shadow reveal form. Like, that applies to this as well, that it was the struggle of getting the thing made is ultimately what made it so rewarding, and made the connections that were formed in our relationships within the team so powerful. Yeah, it was a complete dream. It is my first time in Edinburgh. But I have a lot of Scottish in my roots, in my family. And so I was walking here this morning, hearing people playing the bagpipes and seeing someone in a kilt. And I was like, this is just like my grandfather's funeral. So no, I have not been to Edinburgh before, but I am loving the city, and I'm just so impressed with the festival and so grateful for the opportunity to be here. There's such a good energy. It feels so inviting, and that there's so much care that's gone into everything. So it feels like a really historic year to be here, and it's a real privilege. So it's just getting started, so I'm excited for the week ahead.